What's going on, everybody? Smitty from around the 412 here. We're going to go through today, do a Steelers 7-round mock draft, only controlling the Steelers. I did just do a full first-round mock draft where I was controlling every single team, making every pick of the first round, seeing how close I can get. Of course, we still don't know where the Eagles and Chiefs will be selecting. Could be flipped from what they show right now, but that's neither here nor there. We'll probably do some other mock drafts before the draft itself actually happens. But yeah, only to be controlling the Steelers. I give a ton of credit to the people that do full mocks, full 7-round mocks, controlling all teams. I appreciate your insanity, but we will not be doing that here, at least not right now. I don't necessarily see it in the future either, but never say never. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, kind of overachieved last year, all things considered, when you lose TJ Watt for as long as they did. The quarterback situation, going from Mitch Trubisky to a rookie and Kenny Pickett. They go 7-2 down the stretch. I think there was a lot of positive signs there. How are they going to continue to build on that, though? Because now, when you got a rookie quarterback on that rookie contract, now is the time for them to kind of push the chips in. We'll see how much Andy Weidl's influence goes in constructing this roster. Or are they going to really build in the trenches? I will say, before I even get cooking on this, that I'm not somebody that's just like, this has to be the position at this pick, just because I think you are locking yourself into, you're kind of boxing yourself in, and you might not get the best value because you're so concerned about making sure it's that position. Say like the first 3 tackles are off the board, right? And we're sitting at pick 17. Am I really going to go tackle and get like the 4th best player that the Steelers might have on their board? In this case, it'd be my opinion, as opposed to the number 1 cornerback, if he's there, which I think is also a need, whether or not Cam Sutton is back in free agency. So it'll be interesting to see. This is a fun exercise. That's all it is. This by absolutely no means is going to be anywhere close to accurate, probably, by the time that the draft actually rolls around. But, it's just a fun exercise to do, see where guys are at right now. And these have gone so many different directions. I've played around with this quite a bit already on Pro Football Network's Draft Simulator. And yeah, like I've seen, we'll see how this goes together, and I will talk through the picks as I see them go. And let's see how much we can give Kenny Pickett some help. All right, share this. 7 rounds, Pittsburgh Steelers. That looks good. See, Paris Johnson at pick 1 is already totally different from what I've seen happen before. So also, not going to be doing any trades. I mean, you're going to see stuff pop up, and I'm going to see stuff pop up that would be very enticing. But just for the sake of this exercise, we're not going to do that. But yeah, look at the top of this board. Paris Johnson at 1, and then Myles Murphy as well, going before Will Anderson. I love Myles Murphy. I think Myles Murphy is also, a top 3 player probably in this class. Overall, I think, him, Will Anderson, and Jalen Carter, to me, are all before any of the quarterbacks. So, but that is very interesting to see Myles Murphy go off the board before Will Anderson, and even, Jalen Carter sliding to 6. I say sliding, that's still relatively high, but I think he, is very much in play for pick number 1 to Chicago, if Chicago doesn't trade out of that. I fully expect that they would. But also Detroit jumping up for a quarterback, C.J. Stroud, first quarterback off the board, and Indianapolis, I guess, having to settle for Bryce Young here at 4. Anthony Richardson going in the top 10, 4 quarterbacks in the top 11. Interesting stuff to see how differently these can play out. As it pertains to the Steelers, I'm cool with the way that this board looks right now. I think you got, Christian Gonzalez, who right now is my CB1. And again, I don't think that Cam Sutton being back would prevent me from doing this. You haven't gotten what you'd hope from Ahkello Witherspoon. Not sure what William Jackson, what that situation is going to be, if he's to be brought back or not. It can't be at the number that he's on right now. I think Levi Wallace is a decent player. I think that he's at the very least a starter at this level. But, you need 3 or 4 guys that can go. And Christian Gonzalez is the best athlete for sure coming out of this class at the cornerback position. And I think he would be an awesome upgrade in that cornerback room. Peter Skoronski, obviously, there's some questions about, is he going to stick a tackle because of the arm length? I think, with the way that Rashawn Slater succeeded at this level, teams are probably going to feel a little bit more comfortable about it, but he's going to still have to answer some questions of his own. I think at the very least, he got a really good guard, even if for some reason that arm length prevents him from even being able to play tackle. But I just think, the footwork that he possesses, the anchor, there's so many things to like about this guy. I think he will be fine playing tackle at the next level. So I really like him. I think Clark Phillips might be in play. I think I haven't brought him up yet because he's a little bit down the board on this site. Devin Witherspoon, who they have listed as the number 29 player, I think he would certainly be in play here. All that to say that I'm going Peter Skoronski. I think the value certainly lines up. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not going to take a position just to take a position, but the value certainly lines up there. I don't expect Skoronski to be on the board at this point, but if he were to be, me personally, it's a no-brainer. As much as I love Christian Gonzalez, I think Peter Skoronski is that good of an offensive lineman. And, whether it be at tackle, if for some reason it doesn't work out, guard, the Steelers need both. Whether it's left tackle, right tackle, or left guard, I think that they could use a player at any of those spots. And I've been a big proponent of not wanting to turn over, everything on that offensive line. Let them gain some traction, get some continuity, but there's still certainly a void of talent there along that offensive line, and they could certainly use an upgrade there. So, bringing in a guy like Peter Skoronski, a high pedigree guy coming out of Northwestern, I have no issue with them turning over at least one spot on that offensive line, and Peter Skoronski is definitely the guy to do it for. Second round selection here. We addressed the trenches on one side. We're going to address it on the other side now. Spoiler alert, going Siaki Ika. Really like the value here at this pick. Let me pause it so I can talk about it a little bit too. You look at the size at 6'4", 351, but just ridiculous athlete at that size too. Just a space eater, and takes on double teams. He's a mountain of a man. And I think that this is where the Andy Weidl influence really starts to pay off. You've addressed the offensive line. Now you address the defensive line. They just need to get younger. They need to get better on the defensive line. You're going to be losing some pieces this year. You're going to be losing some pieces in the very near future as well. Siaki Ika is a guy for the now and for the future for this team to build upon. And, when unfortunately the Steelers strike out on Brandon Javon Hargrave back in town, Siaki Ika will be a nice consolation. That's the word I was looking for. Nice consolation prize for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not too far off. We're going to be coming up here soon already. Yeah, this is the nice thing about having 4 picks in the top 80. All right, we're on the board again here. People might I'm between 2 guys here, and the 2 might surprise you just because you might not think that you probably don't want to add somebody at these positions this early. And Darnell Washington is very enticing here. I think he should go in the first round. At the very least, early on day 2. You see tight end, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, you have Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth is a fantastic pass-catching tight end, probably in like the top 5 to 7 in terms of that at the tight end position. He's not a good blocker. And Darnell Washington is. He's almost like an extra offensive lineman. I think he immediately upgrades the run game. I think there's a ton of growth there for him as a pass catcher, though, too. I think he makes this offense better just immediately. I think there's a way to utilize him immediately. Zach Gentry is a free agent. I'm not sure that he gets brought back. Connor Hayward's not a traditional tight end. So I think there's certainly the case to be made for Darnell Washington. There's certainly the case to add a tight end. It doesn't necessarily have to be Darnell Washington, but he's a really good one. And then the other guy that I'm really interested here is Lucas Van Ness. Daniel Jeremiah has this guy going 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. I think he is going to be a guy that you see his stock rise. Really good player on the edge, really productive player at Iowa. I know there's going to be some pushback if I do this just because of Alex Highsmith, coming off the season that he just had, obviously TJ Watt's on the other side. But you need 3 edge rushers for sure. You need guys that can get after the quarterback, creating pressure is what this game is about. And, Alex Highsmith is only guaranteed to be here next year. Are they going to pay a second edge rusher across from TJ Watt? So that's interesting too. And honestly, I don't know where else I would go here. Some of the guys that I was really looking at taking with this pick, like Drew Sanders just went. a few picks ago. He was a guy that I would have really thought about here because I really like. See, the thing for me is I think Jack Campbell's a really good player. Does he get to my next pick, or should I just pull the trigger here? I don't think that he's necessarily. First off, I don't agree with that ranking for sure. At least me personally, I think that he could go, very much within this range, especially because I don't love this linebacker class. I think there's like only 4 guys or so that I would immediately feel good about playing in a starting role. So, and Jack Campbell's one of those guys. We're going to go Darnell Washington. And again, I know I'm going to get some pushback on this with it being and Lucas Van Ness, the very next pick, because he is a tight end, and you might not consider that one of the immediate needs. When you talk about, it's almost like you guys want to get better on the offensive line, right? I mean, this is almost like getting another offensive lineman as good of a blocker as he is. So I think that he's certainly a worthy selection at this spot, and he makes you a better football team immediately. But this is really about projection too, because I think there's so much for him to grow into in terms of a pass catcher. Ooh. See, I'm yeah. I think this is where we go linebacker finally. I think that a lot of people might give me some flack for not going linebacker yet. Well, there's yours right there. I'm a big fan. I know that a lot of people might not recognize the name, but what a great athlete. I think Owen Popo brings a lot in terms of what you want from today's NFL linebackers. Just the top flight athletic talent that he possesses. I think he ran like a 4.47 40, if I'm not mistaken, 40-inch vertical. He's got good hands, which is very interesting coming from the linebacker position. He's explosive. The lateral burst that he shows. This is a guy I think I'm not saying that they're going to use him in this way right away, because there also seems to be like the Steelers need to trust the guy to do it. Like that's why we've seen Robert Spillane stick around as the coverage linebacker for so long, just because of the familiarity with the defense. He might not pick this up right away, but I'm a fan of the way that he covers in space as well. So will he be able to do that at the next level? I'm not sure. But his closing burst as a tackler is fantastic too. Takes really good angles. I think that this is definitely like a modern day NFL linebacker, and 6'1", I think about 220. So, and he was I believe he was a 5-star. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Drew comparisons. I know that the player hadn't worked out in the NFL, but Dylan Moses, if you remember from Alabama, I think that a lot of people compared him to him coming out, which is a really good comparison in terms of what Dylan Moses was at Alabama, not necessarily the player that he turned into in the NFL. But yeah, we're checking off some boxes here, and I think that the value certainly lines up. I'm going through on the available players here, just thinking about who my next pick could be, because I feel like we're starting to get to the point where, unless you are a avid college football fan, you might not recognize a lot of these names. I know who I'm going with, though. Kytrell Clark is probably going to be my pick here unless something else pops off. Yeah, and I think, corner, again, they need to add something to that room. Not the best size, 5'10", 176, but he's been a stud so far at the Shrine Bowl. Not sure how many Steelers eyes are there. They obviously certainly have representation. They're watching these guys, but he's definitely been a standout there. He's a really good cover guy. He's sticky. Even if he is relegated to just being a slot guy, I think the Steelers could certainly use that. Say Cam Sutton is back. I think he showed that he can play on the outside this past season. I know there was questions about that going into the year, but he certainly showed that. You got Levi Wallace on the other side. You got James Pierre still. You got Arthur Millette still. But yeah, I think Kytrell Clark is definitely a player that's going to contribute at the next level, whether that be, in the slot or if he can stick outside. I'm not saying he's got no shot to play on the boundary, but yeah, I think he's certainly a guy that can match up with NFL receivers. He might be, man, I might get flamed for this because I might be forgetting somebody, but he might be the best corner to come out of Louisville since Jair Alexander. Am I forgetting anybody? I'm willing to stand on that statement, though, because I really like the player. This is where the Steelers have like their only lull in the draft, between picks. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, you never want to throw away picks. You've seen the Chiefs getting contributions from their very late round picks this year. Isaiah Pacheco is their starting running back at this point. But, these are the rounds where you really figure out about your scouting and your evaluation of players. If one of these guys pops, I mean, you're really cooking. So this is certainly, you don't want to throw away any picks. They're nice lottery tickets to have at the very least. You're looking for guys that can contribute in some capacity and maybe develop into something more down the road. Tempted to take Bumper Pool just because of the name, right? I mean, see, we've checked a lot of boxes. I think that we address the trenches on both sides of the football, offensive line, defensive line. I'm not saying that they won't double up in any of those areas. Darnell Washington, the player is just too good. Tight end, I think, is certainly a need behind Pat Freiermuth, and he's not obviously a great blocker. So getting a guy that is in Darnell Washington, almost like an extra offensive lineman, great. Owen Popo, again, kind of that modern day linebacker with the athleticism that he possesses, that sideline to sideline speed. He's just to be a playmaker, plays with his hair on fire at all times. And Kytrell Clark, one of the big Shrine Bowl winners up to this point, I think is an immediate contributor in the cornerback room and could be a mainstay at the NFL level. So I really like what we've done so far. But we've checked, I think what most people would consider boxes, and this is without taking into consideration what the team's going to do in free agency. So at this point, I think you're just looking for guys to contribute in some way. Where you Kendrick Duncan, the safety out of Louisville. Reason being, he actually kind of reminds me of Trey Norwood. I think that what you have at the very least is a really smart, intelligent player who doesn't have to rely on just his athletic traits, and he can contribute, at least on special teams, right away. I mean, we're losing basically the entire special teams unit in free agency. Obviously, some of those guys could be brought back, but without knowing that that's going to be the case, they're going to need bodies there. Kendrick Duncan at 6'3", 205. Pretty good size for a safety, and I think could be a special teams contributor right away. And then final pick here, again, you are just looking for guys that can contribute in some capacity. And I'll be honest, like, I don't know every player on this list. I'm not going to lie to you guys and pretend that I do. So it is what I don't have the ability to go through and scout literally every single player. You know what? We're going to keep a guy relatively close. Dante Stills. We're going to double up on defensive line. Reason being, I like what I saw. I haven't watched him on tape, but live in the backyard brawl and some of West Virginia's other games, I like what I saw. I think he's a really good athlete at the position. I think he could test really well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go higher than this. I was kind of surprised to see him still on the board as I scroll down. But I like the player. Watching him live, there must obviously be some things on tape that push him down the board a little bit more. But without going through and watching that, I think that at the very least the value lines up. And again, defensive tackle. I know that we've took Siaki Ika. I'm not saying Siaki Ika like they're not the same player in any way, shape, or form. But they need to get younger on that defensive line. They need bodies. You're going to have Tyson Alualu probably retiring. Chris Wormley, who knows if he's going to be back coming off that injury too. Larry Ogunjobi's a free agent. There's a bunch of defensive linemen that are leaving potentially right now. And also you look in the very near future, like Cam Hayward, how much longer does he have? So this is the haul we get. Peter Stronsky, Siaki Ika, Darnell Washington, Owen Popo, Ty Trout Clark, Kendrick Duncan, and Dante Stills. I'm very happy with this. And I think that this has been a great way to build upon what the Steelers did last season. This combined with free agency, I really think you could be cooking. So that'll do it. That is the first 7-round Steelers mock draft that we've done on this channel. We're going to be doing a lot more of these things as draft time leads up. And you're probably going to see these players very much move from where they are at right now. So I was able to get these guys in these spots right now. In a week or two, that probably isn't going to be the case. But yeah, great way to build upon what the Steelers did last season. I know I personally would be very happy with this haul. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here or haven't already. We get a bunch more viewers than we'd have subscribers. So if you guys could subscribe, we appreciate it. Totally free. It helps us out a lot. Leave us a like. Hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss any content that is put out on the channel. Comment and let me know what you guys thought of this Steelers 7-round mock draft specifically. Let me know what other content you guys would like to see in the near future. And also, I'll drop the link to my personal channel as well, because I'm going to be doing some non-Pittsburgh sports related stuff over there. But other than that, it's been Smitty. This has been the Around the 412 first Steelers 7-round mock draft of the season. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.